team periods or group periods. So for me, it's never a point of, hey, listen, it's trying to build that consistency where it's at a top level each week. That's how pretty much I've approached it my whole career as a line coach, and not get into, where are we doing. Listen, we got to do a good enough job that we can win football games.
When it comes to pass protection, when you have a quarterback like Drake who can scramble so much and extend plays, it's been amazing. You guys haven't really been penalized for any holds. What are the coaching points when you have a quarterback? I'm sorry.
I'm not supposed to say those things.
I'm sorry.
It's in my mind too, and I want to say it sometimes. Hey, but I don't, because the minute you do that. But a lot of the credit, the players are doing a good job of that. A lot of the receivers do a very good job of getting open. It's really a group effort, from us being able to make sure that we're staying inside out, giving the ability for the quarterback to step up, the running backs picking up pressures, whatever we may be doing. I think those things, there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good things that help us, as far as offensive linemen, to be able to do that. So, we're very fortunate.
Ask you, there's a kind of an ongoing debate about pure progression reads versus coverage reads. Have you heard this before?
I have.
I'm wondering if you have a take, and maybe even you could kind of just explain to your perspective what coverage reads really is. I think progressions and people pretty much really get.
I think there's a place in offenses for both. I think depending on the defense you're playing kind of determines where you want to live in terms of how you're teaching the quarterback. I think when a defense is kind of vanilla in terms of the coverages that they play, there might be a time for more, pick a side reads or pre-snap. We used to call them PSLs, like pre-snap looks. And then pure progressions, the coverage doesn't necessarily matter. We like to call some of those like sprinkler head reads, 1, 2, 3, 4, and work your way through it. So if the first guy's open, he gets it. If the second guy's open, he gets it. I think that kind of gives the quarterback ease in terms of his anxiety pre-snap when he doesn't know, based off the disguise, where to go with the football. Because a lot of these teams nowadays are pretty good at hiding the coverages that they're in. So I think there's a place for both. I just think it's dependent on who you're playing and how well they disguise.
Yeah, when you are in those coverage reads, how important is just like undressing the coverage as much as you can?
It's super important. I mean, if you can use cadence, if you can motion to kind of get them to undress, there's tells that some defenders kind of give away to show what the coverage will be post snap. Sometimes the disguise always isn't tied in. Sometimes the safeties will lie to you, but the linebackers leverage will tell you what it is, or the stars leverage. So there's little clues that can help us. But again, these defenses are getting good, and when I say things like that, they listen and then they fix the stars leverage, and then we have to go back to the drawing board. But I think it's good. It's tough for the quarterback when you just sit in one specific type of read type, just because there's so many things that a defense can do to kind of get you out of it.
Yeah.
We've talked to both Drake and Josh about this, the MVP race. Understanding you don't have a vote, but if you did, I would imagine you would be
for sure
pulling the lever for number 10.
I think I'm one of Drake's biggest fans. I'm happy with the way that he's performed so far this season. I think the coolest thing about this is his success on the field has opened a window for everyone to see who he is as a person. And I think the attention has been really neat. You guys get to see what I get to see every day, a humble, down-to-earth guy who isn't really moved by individual accolades and just cares about the team's success. But I'm happy he's getting the recognition he deserves because he's worked hard for it. But I think it's a team award. It goes to the offensive line and, giving him time to throw the ball, the receivers making plays down the field. But I'm excited for him and happy for him.
One of the things that keeps coming up in the conversations that the guys, particularly in the offensive line, have talked about is his pocket presence and his pocket awareness. How have you seen him grow and develop and kind of become the guy who he's become this year? Specifically in that aspect of his game.
I think pocket presence has a big thing to do with, one, he has an innate ability to feel what's going on around him. There's a lot of drills that we try to do with the quarterback to get him turn the movements in the pocket to into a habit, like make it habitual. Just when he gets to the depth of his drop, stepping up and moving left and right and doing it in an efficient manner, so he's always in position to throw the ball. But some of those things are, he has eyes in the back of his head. He feels the defensive end, getting around the curve on the left tackle, and he steps up and moves based on the pressure that he's getting internally. I think a lot of that stuff is natural, but I think we've tried to help him turn that into a habit, just in terms of getting back in the pocket, feeling comfortable in the pocket, and being in position to throw the ball.
What aspect of his game, and maybe it's pocket presence, maybe
Yeah.
it's something else that maybe we're not aware of, that you're able to see on a regular basis, where you've seen him make the biggest leap forward from year 1 to year 2?
I think just knowing what he's looking at and knowing how a defense aligns, and his answers to get to certain things. I think we've given him a lot at the line of scrimmage, and I think he's embraced it. It wasn't always pretty, in the spring. Like, he's just getting used to, okay, what type of control do I have at the line of scrimmage? And I think now he's comfortable in moving the protections. He's comfortable in seeing the rotation and what that means to him. Because a defense can only, disguise for so long, because they have to get back and get to their responsibility. So based off their alignments, he can make a certain amount of decisions. And I think where we stand now, I think he's pretty comfortable doing that. So that's something big, I would say.
And so that's more the pre-snap stuff than
Yeah.
the speed of the game that a lot of people have talked about, things slowing down. But the pre-snap, it sounds like you're talking about the pre-snap
pre-snap
stuff is where he's really improved.
Yeah, I think like when he breaks the huddle, he knows what he's looking for. He knows based on how a defense aligns what they can get to and what will hurt him if he doesn't take care of it. And I think that's a big thing within our system. We try to give him, a ton of answers at the line of scrimmage, and teach him what will hurt him on every single play, so that way he can protect himself against it.
A couple of receivers told me that Drake almost holds like a meeting with them.
Yeah.
Something that he does.
Yeah.
Why is that important? And what's sort of the purpose of those get-togethers?
I think there's times where, the players hear our voices so often, and it means one thing coming from a coach, and it means another thing coming from the starting quarterback who's throwing you the ball and will get you the ball. So if we tell a certain receiver, hey, you need to get to this depth and square cut it and make sure you're here when I throw the ball, they hear it. But then when the starting quarterback tells them, hey, listen, if you don't get to this spot, I'm not throwing you the football, then it comes off a little bit differently. And I think it just goes to his leadership and trust. When they start to do the things that he's asking for them to do and they do it, then it just builds that camaraderie. Like when Mac Hollins first got here, he used to always scream to us, throw the backside in cut, throw the backside in cut, throw the backside in cut. And by him and Drake building that trust and that communication, and Drake showing that he throws it often to Mac because Mac runs the route a certain way. So then he tells the other receivers, hey, if you want the ball this way, then this is how it should be run. But I think by him, voicing his opinions, I think it holds a little bit, I wouldn't say more weight, but it strokes a different chord with those guys.
Is that something you guys pushed Drake to do? Like, how did that come about?
It was something Drake wanted to do.
Yeah.
When we got here in the spring, he was looking for ways that he can grow up on his leadership skills and just his responsibilities, and that was an idea that Coach Vrabel and Josh brought up to him as a way that he can help us push the offense forward. And he, jumped at the bit to be able to do it, and it's helped us.
Thank you.
Just want to ask you, Ashton, how's your development in this offense been this year, and learning it, but also having to teach it?
It's been a whirlwind, and I think I'm learning every single day. I've, since I've gotten hired, have sung Josh's praises since I've gotten here, and sitting next to him every single day and just trying to pick up little things, how you coach the quarterback, how you tie everything together, the big picture things in the offense. It's just been, hard to put words around it. But I've learned a ton, and now I feel comfortable enough to, teach the quarterback and make some decisions and bring ideas to Josh, and it's always good to get his feedback and how he sees things, because I think the more that me and him can think alike, I think the better my contributions will be. And I think they've just continuously grown throughout the year.
Just one quick follow-up.
Yeah.
What's it like from your perspective, all the other perspectives you have with like guys, Thomas, who've been in different offenses,
Yeah.
who've been in other areas? I mean, you're kind of maybe a hub on the, with all the spokes of those different. I mean, is it interesting having those different point of views from your perspective?
It's cool because I'm like the translator, I guess you could say, because I've had experience in the West Coast system. I am the one, I guess, that will work the closest with Josh on the staff, so I get to hear this system. It's almost like the Bible to me now. We don't even speak another language. Every time, I might accidentally slip up and say a West Coast term, I get like a little, pat on the wrist. But it's cool because I get to, translate some things, and it helps my my ability to teach. If I can translate something for players, or just broaden some ideas for myself, that I can word things a way that might click with one guy as opposed to someone else. And when you get new guys in the building that come from a different system,
Speak the language.
you can speak the language and help them translate it easier. Yeah.
Ashton, let's start with Happy New Year.
Oh, right,
Let's
Happy New
start
Year.
2026
Yes,
off
sir.
right.
Yes, sir.
Cognizant of the fact it's full staff,
Yeah.
everyone working together.
Mhm.
I did want to ask you, from your view,
Yeah.
What has made the Josh Drake pairing work?
I could sit here all day on that. I think first and foremost is the relationship that they were able to build when Josh got hired and Drake got back in the building. I think those first couple of meetings had nothing to do with football. It was very focused on, just finding out who each other were or was as a person. They played pickleball together a little bit. We've been to Josh's house for dinner on numerous occasions and have kind of intertwined our families. So I think just, gaining that trust with one another and knowing who they were as people was the first thing. And then I think just Josh's experience has built the trust in Drake. And I think I've heard Drake talk about it a little bit, like in the spring. I think it was like the Sunday night football game. He's talking to one of the McCourty twins. And Josh would tell Drake something, and Drake would sit there and say, "Oh, is it really happening? Is it not?" And then it showed up, and then now Drake is like, "Okay, I can trust what Josh is saying to me." And then it helps when, you put up clips from 2005 to 2025, and you see the same type of plays working, and you see Tom Brady having success, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So I think that holds weight in of itself. But I think the first thing was that they built a relationship outside of football first. And then the football stuff came easy after that.
We done, Stacey? All right, awesome. The hard-hitting reporting. Do we have any pickleball results? Do we know who won?
No.
I have to dig harder on that, huh?
He'd have all kinds of activities for the kids to do. So he's always done stuff like when he talks about family, there was always things. So he had a nice pool. The food was always really good, but like I said, it was pool, basketball, food trucks, face paintings, just like we did this year with Halloween. Having we'd have Halloween where the families, players, coaches, you could bring your kids through, and we handed out candy as the coaches, and then in the indoor building, because it was attached to our facility, he had the big blow up slides and jump houses and all that in the indoor, and would tell the coaches when you finish with the candy, like, mind you, sometimes it was a Tuesday or Wednesday night, which are big game plan days. Take an hour and a half or so, go out there with your family, enjoy your family, your kids, and he had a big spread in the cafeteria. So, just that when he talks about family, he really means it, because there's several things throughout the course of the year that we do that involves the families, and he encourages us to go do it, and he's always asking about the families. So I know that's a couple things, but
It's great.
How did you think you did?
I was really proud of Efton. He got an opportunity to actually, put into action all the hard work that he's put in throughout the year, and I thought he did a nice job with the assignments that we asked him to do, and physically he went in there and battled. Obviously, he's a different skill set than Mac, but he went in there with the same intentions and unselfishness, and I was really, really happy that he was rewarded with the touchdown.
When you have Efton, who's like 5'10" and Max 6'4", but Efton's doing a lot of the same jobs, like in the run game, what allows him to be able to do that?
I think the heart's the same size. Those guys both work really hard to be great teammates, and they show it in the way that they play when they don't have the football or they don't even have a chance of getting the football. And so that skill set is exactly the same. You try to change up some techniques because of maybe some size differences or skill set differences, but the heart's the same.
It's simplistic, but Max, obviously your biggest wide receiver. What do you guys lose by just losing that height from him?
Obviously we've talked all year long about everyone having to contribute at different times, and so you never know when that size is going to be called upon, whether it's a backside in cut that he has to go elevate and make in traffic or something like that. But the beauty of it is everybody trains the same in the room, and so we were able to kind of mix and match. It wasn't just Efton who picked up the slack for Mac. It was also Kyle. It was also Steph in some ways, and Pop as well. So I'm just proud of how the group came together and played a little bit shorthanded and did everything they could to pick up the slack.
How can Kyle keep helping too? It seems like he gives great effort in the run game as well.
Yeah, just continuing to take one snap at a time and trying to play, as perfectly from an effort and finish standpoint as he can on that individual snap. And if he does that and just resets each huddle, he'll be really pleased with the results. You can't get too far out in front of things or think, oh, I got to come back and fix that block perfectly or fix that route perfectly. It's got to be one snap at a time, and I think he's growing in that every day.
He's made bigger plays over the second half of the season. What have you seen that's allowed him to do that?
Man, he was close to that one on the sideline too in the game. I think confidence is a really powerful thing in sports, and you can't develop confidence without actually doing it. And so I think the practice reps have really helped him realize, okay, I can accomplish things at this level, simply by putting the repetitions in and working hard, getting on the same page with Drake. And I think as he's got more and more confident, you've seen that show up with his play speed and his finishing and all those sorts of things.
Kayshawn obviously was a big impact maker early in the season, slowed down a little bit. How do you guys get him back on track to what he was able to do early in the season?
Yeah, a couple things out of his control that slowed him down, and we're glad, that he's trending in the right direction with everything. I think, again, just being back out there on the practice field with Drake and getting some extra throws in and, getting, kind of back up to speed with some things from a timing standpoint is going to trend in the right direction for him.
I know there's some off-field things going on in your room. Do you guys, is that a distraction? How do you allow that to not be a distraction right now?
I try to focus really hard on what I can control inside these four walls and give my guys the best that way and let them know that I care about them as humans and that I'm here for them for anything else. I think the next day, next play type of mentality, helps us focus on what we have right in front of us for today, and that's all we're really concerned about.
Obviously, there's some Max injury, and Kayshawn was down. What have you seen from Webb and Giles, especially behind the scenes on the practice squad this season?
Yeah, way back, when we first had our first set of meetings with Coach Vrabel in the offseason, he talked about the guys preparing as though they're starters and not worrying about where they're at on the depth chart. And give credit to Webby and to Giles and, now having Brandon here. Those guys are working hard to learn the game plan, to not just be a one-position player so that they can be called upon and trusted in a moment's notice. And, I think back to the COVID years and how you might, at the drop of a test, you might find yourself, elevated from practice squad and starting. We certainly went through some of that in Tennessee, and those guys have embodied that mindset of preparing like the starter. It's fun to watch them work.